At one point, my daughter said, because I was quite ill not too long ago, and my daughter said, what are you going to do if something goes wrong? And I said, well, I'd go out in the middle of the street and I'd yell, help! And I'd wait to see who came.
I lived here for 16 years.
I've been living in Wakefield for 22 years.
For 27.
I've been in Wakefield for 20 years.
I moved here 2 years ago with my family.
I've been here 10 years.
For 11 years.
I have lived here
since I was a baby.
En 1999.
And I've lived in Wakefield for 34 years, and I'm still a newbie. I'll always be a newbie.
I lived in Wakefield for about 16 years, yeah. And then I moved away to go to university. Yeah, I miss it. But somehow every time I come back, I feel like it is less mine.
I knew maybe 2 or 3 people in the whole community well enough to call them, and so I called Brenda and I said, I don't have a car to get into work. She called Kirsten. Kirsten called somebody else. Within about 22 minutes, I had a car. Kirsten, who really didn't know me, called me back and said, yeah, Peter Gillies, you don't know him. He's overseas in Afghanistan. I'm looking after his car. You can have it. I'll drop it off at your house. I went, how is this possible? In literally 22 minutes, I had a car for the evening. And she's like, keep it as long as you want. He won't be back for 6 weeks. They don't even know me. Well, you live in the village and you need a hand. And there you go. It was that simple. It's really hard to have a crisis here because people keep interfering and making sure that you're okay and everything's all right.
If I were going to talk about community and how community works, I would talk about how people come together and support each other. And when Robert died 2.5 years ago, I was devastated, and my children wanted me to go and live with them. But they came here for the memorial service, and they helped to prepare the memorial service with the community. And the grannies came out and they made the food, and musicians came out and they made music, and people from the community came out and they talked about what Robert meant. And at the end of that event, my children said, you can't leave this community because this community will support you in a way that living with us never could.
Je dis pas que c'est une communauté d'idéalisme où est-ce qu'il n'y a pas de problème, mais quand il y a des problèmes, par exemple, on est là pour s'entraider. Moi j'ai eu une dernière grossesse il y a 4 ans, puis j'ai fait une thrombose veineuse profonde. Ça veut dire que j'ai eu des caillots dans les veines, puis à chaque jour où je créais la vie avec ma grossesse, j'avais le risque de mourir à chaque seconde. Fait que c'était tellement difficile, puis il a fallu que je sorte de ma tortue, puis que je dise tranquillement, tu sais, à ma communauté, j'ai besoin de vous. J'ai vraiment besoin de vous. J'y arrive pas. Tu sais, sérieusement, je peux pas prendre un bain toute seule. Je me promène en béquille. J'arrive pas. J'ai vraiment besoin d'aide. Puis c'était humiliant, mais extraordinaire. Parce que là, j'ai rencontré un autre volet du cœur de la communauté. Savoir c'est quoi prendre mon souffle de l'autre côté. Je voulais pas mourir. Puis j'étais tellement contente de pas être morte, mais tu sais, comme... c'est vraiment vrai. Comme, tout est fait. Mon testament, on a tout fait parce que c'était la réalité. Ça s'est passé, ça aussi. Puis là, je suis encore vivante, mon enfant va bien, la famille est ensemble. Puis j'ai vraiment eu l'impression qu'il y a une guérison non seulement du corps, mais de mon esprit, de voir que, waouh, j'ai le droit d'être cette femme qui accueille les gens, qui est gentille, instruite, cultivée, qui prend soin, qui a le souci du détail, mais j'ai aussi le droit d'être en peine, d'avoir de la souffrance, puis de recevoir de l'appui. J'ai le droit à ça.
We're really conscious of all the lives that have left especially the young ones, they go away for greater opportunity, I suppose. But a lot doesn't come back too. And one of my very best friends died. She was 92, Anita. And so we've lost a lot of friends from deaths too. We meet all our friends at funerals now and not weddings. That's too bad.
No, I kept it myself for many years. For a long time, most people didn't know I was here. I don't reject people. I just don't really want them around that much. But that's another part of this story of living around here, be belonging, and it's also a sense of wanting to have your own space, all at the same time. For the most part, I want to be alone. But I also want to know that that community is out there for me and with me. Well, actually more with me than for me. I'm not part of that. But I watch it and I think, oh, that's tremendous.
I didn't feel like I was part of the Wakefield community because my parents had a business here, or because I went to school here, but it's because I had my own thing here. And I think that's a beautiful part about community, is that everyone has a place in it.
Yeah, I was just thinking about those ideas, like what it means to be from like a landscape itself, and to like identify with that landscape. And I don't know about you, but you certainly feel like, oh, the hills feel like home in a certain way. David McLaren came to Wakefield in the 1840s. Died in Toronto. What's up with that? See, people, they come and they go, you know? And I remember I tried to look through and see like all the gravestones here, that list where someone was born and where they died. Sometimes neither of those locations are Wakefield.
I already had connections with some people here before we even moved up. We're residents of the area, you know, but local, I guess I just kind of usually save that for the people that have maybe born and raised here, or people that have been here a really long time, and people that have their roots here.
I moved here when I was 4. It's a big change. Moved to the country, had to learn French, and I remember crushing the coins under the train. It changed the whole vibe of the village whenever it was running, because suddenly you get the influx of tourists, and then you felt almost like validated in your presence there, because you're like, I'm a villager.
We go down to our swimming dock, our community dock, probably 3 times a day. And Mateo usually starts swimming in May until October. When Mateo is happy, he has this shriek of joy, seeing the sun reflecting on the water, just the same as when he goes to a splash pad and the water is spraying out of the fountains. It's like it's the first time he's ever seen it every single time. And we don't ever introduce Mateo as like, oh, sorry, he has autism. He's well known in our community. All of our neighbors know us. And so as the community dock gets more popular, there's been times where he's gone and people will say, don't let him touch my stuff. Paul and I have said, oh, you know, should we get a private dock? Should we just build a private dock? And I was like, no, we're not going to do that. He is a member of this community and he deserves to be at this dock, and he brings joy to this dock, and he's a teacher at this dock, and we're going to stay here and we're going to support Mateo, but we're going to support the people at the dock to welcome him. It is about him teaching the rest of our community. So if we send Mateo off to a special school in Gatineau on a special bus and keep him in special programs, we're not doing him a service, but we're also not doing our community a service, because they're not able to see his gifts and his strengths, and they're not able to learn from him. Seeing him hide on this dock during the parade, I thought, we gotta change something. And the fact that the Wakefield community just immediately like, yep, tell us what you need and help us set it up and we'll make it happen.
Il y a aussi encore beaucoup de travail à faire. Ça a vraiment tranquillement été accepté. Moi, au début, là, quand j'ai ouvert Kewa, j'avais écrit « boutique d'art autochtone » et les gens n'entraient pas dans la boutique. Ma voisine d'en face m'a dit « enlève autochtone, écris juste boutique cadeau ». Eh bien, à ma grande surprise, le lendemain, le train descendait, laissait descendre 500 personnes dans le village, puis ils sont tous rentrés. Et ils me disent, bon ben, OK, on continue, il y a encore du travail à faire. Et la volonté est là, puis mon travail de pont n'est pas encore fini. J'ai du plaisir dans tous les commerces, dans tous les restos. J'ai du plaisir avec le rythme de Wakefield. Les gens se mobilisent pour une cause, et qu'on est soutenu par une communauté et ses enfants. Excuse-moi, ça m'émeut.
Bien correct.
Parce que, tu sais, je t'ai vu grandir. Puis je me dis, c'est ça, la relève. C'est toi, c'est les autres, c'est ma fille, mon fils, tu sais, qui ont grandi dans le village avec un cœur de communauté, tu sais, puis qui veulent voir ça grandir. Puis eux aussi veulent laisser leur trace dans la différence, puis dans la profondeur des relations.
I changed places. I was prepared for a big drop in income this year. I'm absolutely surprised at what happened. I had several people say, if you need money to get through this, you know, call me. I said, I'm going to open by the 1st of July, no matter what. We opened on the 29th of June. When I was going back home for things, Wakefield was full of people. It was the July 1st weekend. And I took a drive back through town about 8 o'clock. And everybody at the Cafe 1870 stood up and raised their glasses and said, you did it, as I drove past. Now that kind of support, I mean, you know, I literally had tears in my eyes. But they just stood up as a person and said, you did it. And I mean, I came up here and I said, you're not going to believe what just happened. And my family all said, well, only in Wakefield would something like that happen. It was amazing. That's Wakefield. That's true Wakefield. So if you want to know what I think of Wakefield, that's Wakefield.